Today we're getting into the latest tech, Tesla, and EV news, including Tesla's 500 kilowatt superchargers, more leaks of new Tesla vehicles, new Rivian patents, foldable iPhones, and more. So let's get into it, and a special thanks to Lasfit for sponsoring this video. First up today, one of the best parts about owning a Tesla vehicle is using the Supercharger network. And the great thing is that network has been expanding to support all other EVs in the United States. They're still working on certain companies and that overall partnership there, but in general, it's much easier to drive other EVs as a result of this as well. But Superchargers are now getting even faster. Tesla's first V4 Supercharger cabinet is officially live in California. They posted a video plugging in the Cybertruck to this cabinet, and it reaches its peak speed of 500 kilowatts at a 0% charge specifically. Of course, we do expect that continues a little further into the charging curve, but maybe you'll only see that 500 top number very close to zero. Regardless, this truck has its charge limit set to 80%, and it says that will take 35 minutes, which would be pretty incredible to see. I'm very curious to see what that whole charging curve looks like on the Cybertruck. They note that this is 0.5 megawatts, it has 3 times the power density, and then supports 2 stalls per cabinet. Quote, higher throughput, higher efficiency, lower cost, faster deployments. They also added, quote, currently only supporting Teslas, non-Teslas in Q4, final engineering validations needed. This location is currently in Redwood City, California, with 8 stalls, but you can clearly see it's listed at 500 kilowatt max charging speeds in the Tesla app. The only Tesla that can truly take advantage of this is the one they showed charging on it, the Cybertruck. Tesla unveiled this functionality almost a year ago at this point, so it is important to note that there are 2 different pieces to this. There are the V4 supercharging stalls that you've likely seen or charged at, and then there's the cabinet separately. We see V4 stalls all over the place now, but the cabinet is what actually delivers that quicker speed. So ultimately, we'll probably see Tesla upgrading some of those V4 superchargers to this V4 cabinet in the longer future. Max at Tesla Charging said, quote, it might be odd to get so excited about a white box, but the V4 cabinet is a charging masterpiece. AC in, 16 trays of power electronics, DC out. This is the tech that will make 1.2 megawatt charging for semi and 0.5 megawatt charging for cars ubiquitous around the world. So this will be a huge improvement for cars like the Cybertruck, but again, none of Tesla's other vehicles actually support faster charging speeds here. And that's very interesting to see, because he's talking about this expanding around the world for all electric cars. So my hope is that this tech ends up finally pushing Tesla to update their cars to support peak speeds above 250 kilowatts. And then the thing I'm also curious to see is, in the meantime, will they support 350 kilowatts on cars from companies that already have that functionality? Certain cars from Hyundai or Kia or even GM can support 350 kilowatt charging. So will those cars be parked at a Tesla supercharger next to a Tesla and actually charging faster on V4 supercharger cabinets? That seems like a weird thing Tesla really wouldn't want to have happen with their vehicles at their own chargers, but we'll have to see. It seems like if they're supporting non-Tesla vehicles, they should support it up to 500 kilowatts, so this probably could happen. Either way, it's great to see this functionality expanding, especially coming from Tesla because their superchargers are so reliable. We've seen faster chargers available from third parties, but you just don't really see people actually using them that much because they're few and far between, sometimes have issues, and then of course in general the car has to support it as well. But next up today, also from Tesla, we have new leaks of their upcoming affordable vehicle, which could be coming very soon here. Of course, we're wrapping up the end of this quarter right now when this video is going up, and the EV tax credit is expiring on top of that. It turned out you didn't have to necessarily take delivery of your EV before September 30th, but you did have to lock in the fact that you were purchasing that car. So going forward after today, that tax credit is officially gone. As such, it seems that Tesla is really prioritizing bringing out a more affordable version of the Model Y. We've seen leaks of this car before, and some of the interior leaked, showing a smaller center console, a pass-through in between those front seats instead of that console piece there, different cup holders and a different armrest, non-ventilated seats, and no glass roof. On top of that, very recently, firmware revealed details of the E41 vehicle, which is the code name. It has a simpler headliner, it removes most of the accent lights in the car, it removes the rear display, the seat controls are single access, and then they also mention simplified vent vents. They could be physical vents in this car instead of vents controlled on the touchscreen, but maybe they're just referring to the rear seats there, because it's been years since Tesla shipped a car with physical vents, at least in the front. But we'll have to see. If it is a big cost savings, we might see physical front vents on the Model Y, which again, for some people, might be one of those features where they actually go, I would prefer that, but it's only on the base model. This is also bringing an updated front and rear fascia, and then we're expecting textile seats, no coat hooks, no puddle lights, no power folding mirrors, no front or rear light bar on the exterior, and then possibly no heated seats as well as no ventilated seats. But there have been more sightings of this car in the wild, and Tesla is very actively testing this, especially in California. They're still very much covering up the front and the rear and tinting the windows so that we can't see inside. And this is a red version of this car. But similarly, a blue one was spotted, and most of these again are being spotted in California. Over in Texas, though, it seems that crash testing activity is at a very high level at that factory. Joe Tegtmeyer got a few drone shots of different Model Y bodies being driven around on a truck, along with a lineup of many different Model Ys outside that Tesla is particularly covering up. They're even putting tires on top of the covers so that they don't blow off at all and probably leak a little bit or a small detail of one of these unreleased cars. Of course, they could just be improving and iterating on current Model Ys, but it seems like they're definitely trying to hide something here specifically. So while we await these changes in the US, though, Tesla is going the opposite direction with changes to the Model 3 and Model Y over in China. And that's especially because competition actually exists in China for EVs across the spectrum of all price points. For the Model Y, they've now shipped a 16-inch touchscreen on two different models there. First is the Model YL, that longer wheelbase 3-row SUV that Tesla is now shipping in China. Then they added a 16-inch touchscreen to the Performance Model Y out of Berlin, and of course this is about 0.6 inches larger than what Tesla is shipping today. But this screen is rumored to be coming to more trims of the Model Y, specifically out of China. And then another feature they added is power-adjustable thigh support for the seats in those two trims of that car, and that is expected to come to more trims of the Model Y, specifically in China. Then for the Model 3, there are a few small additions there, like the front bumper camera being added, black Tesla logos being added or changed on this car, and then a few other minor things changing there. It doesn't seem like, at least at this point in time, that they're adding that leg support to the Model 3 Performance or that larger 16-inch display. Before we go any further, I want to thank today's sponsor, Lasfit. Lasfit just released a great set of all-weather floor mats and cargo liners for the refreshed Model Y. These heavy-duty liners are designed to fit perfectly into your Model Y to protect the interior in all climates and situations. This product comes with 7 precisely molded pieces designed to protect your vehicle's entire interior. I love these mats in particular because I often load drums into my car with the rear seats folded down. Beyond just protecting my interior, though, they give it a more premium look. Compared to the mats that come with your Tesla, this set goes above and beyond. Teslas are just basic carpet mats that are hard to clean and only cover the front footwells. Lasfits, though, are a sleek, perfect fit that manage to be perfectly easy to clean while remaining comfy under your feet. These mats are all stain-resistant, waterproof, and anti-slip, meaning you are always prepared for whatever life throws at you. No matter what is spilled on them, food, sand, juice, you can just vacuum it up, rinse it off, or wipe it down. Their durable design and high-quality materials ensure that they won't break down or deform under daily use or even heavy wear and tear in extreme conditions. They're also made out of an environmentally friendly TPE material that is more flexible, durable, and resistant to wear and tear than traditional rubber mats. On top of that, they are made from fully recyclable materials and are free from harmful chemicals, making this a safe and sustainable floor mat option for your Model Y. To check out the Lasfit floor mats for yourself, click the purchase link in the description and comments below and use discount code RS20 for 20% off. In the past, Tesla has basically standardized everything across the board in all markets. There have been certain trims like standard range that ship in China but do not ship in the United States, at least for certain periods of time, but it now seems like things are getting much more distinguished across the globe. They're dialing in a lot of these premium features over in China that we're not seeing yet in the United States, and it seems like it's pretty much them dialing into what markets truly need. And then, of course, this is all heavily influenced by their interest in full self-driving and robo-taxis in the United States. They really see that as the future, so they don't really see as much importance on bringing these features to the United States very soon, like they do over in China. Still, that more affordable Tesla should be coming, and it should be totally capable of full self-driving just like the rest of their cars, so I am excited to see that hopefully come quite soon here. Next up today, Tesla has officially launched the Performance Model Y in certain markets out of Giga Berlin. So Top Gear has released their full review. Essentially, they review the car and talk about all of the good things, but then also talk about the fact that it might not be worth it for a lot of customers. Of course, there are many new things like a new front bumper, aerodynamic tweaks, a larger carbon fiber spoiler, and a redesigned rear bumper. They help reduce drag by 10% and lift by 64%. And then there are new 21-inch Arachnid 2.0 forged wheels with aero covers, red brake calipers. There are also gloss black mirror caps and performance badging. It shares the same powertrain as the Model 3 Performance and gets up to 360 miles of WLTP range. Essentially, it's the same interior as the Model Y long range with some specific additions like that 16-inch center touchscreen, sport seats with bolsters and power thigh extenders, carbon fiber trim, and aluminum pedals. But then, of course, it has that insane acceleration along with adaptive suspension with stiffer bushings, revised dampers, reinforced rear suspension, and new steering knuckles. Overall, the review of this in practice is that it's very precise yet relaxed for steering. It's a smooth ride at cruising speeds, but then heavy in corners. For that performance as well, though, they note that it's class-leading for family EV SUVs. It has strong grip, accurate steering, it's well-damped, and very quiet with excellent NVH. But then come their critiques, saying that the standard long-range all-wheel drive Model Y is already very excellent. It's comfortable, efficient, and much cheaper. This performance adds speed but costs around $10,000 more. So ultimately, they say this is impressive and fun, but for most buyers, they would be better off saving money with a long-range all-wheel drive Model Y. The performance to them feels unnecessary given how good that other model is. This is an interesting take to see, and I could argue both sides of this. First, the performance model is incredibly great, and for many people, it's like kind of the perfect combination of a sport vehicle that's also incredibly practical at the same time. For daily driving, you can use it and it's comfortable. That adaptive suspension will help with stuff like that. And then you have full self-driving available to you. But then when you want to push it and really feel that performance and acceleration, it's also available. I would overall agree, though, that for the vast majority of customers, it's probably not worth the upgrade. First, there's the long-range rear-wheel drive car, which is already incredibly good. And in markets like the United States, it ships with the exact same interior as the Model Y all-wheel drive long-range. So here they're talking about how the performance model is already a $10,000 upgrade, but I'd argue you could even go rear-wheel drive in many different markets, and it still would serve a lot of people. However, if you do want that performance, this is where their argument is coming into play, that is it really worth the difference in 0 to 60 and all of those things between all-wheel drive and performance. So I can definitely see this argument, and that for the average person watching a video about a new car, the performance model upgrade is not going to be necessary for you, even if you want things like that thigh support and the larger touchscreen. Those upgrades are cool, but at the end of the day, you are taking on a little bit of compromise if your ultimate goal is comfort. However, if your ultimate goal is performance, you already know what these cars come with, and what kind of upgrades you're getting, and why it costs more, and it will be worth it for those people. So is the conclusion that you shouldn't buy this car? I think that for most people, it will be pretty obvious which of these cars they should choose, and if they already like performance vehicles, they can go that direction and probably be quite satisfied. But either way, I am excited to see this new Model Y performance get released in other markets, like the United States, and I'm curious to see what the price comes in at. Next up today, over at Acura, they have officially stopped production of their ZDX EV, which was assembled by GM at their Spring Hill, Tennessee plant. This decision is part of aligning Acura's product portfolio to market demand, they say, and it's part of Honda's overall long-term strategy. The ZDX had some pretty weak sales, with just 10,335 units sold in the first half of 2025, which represents around 15% of Acura's US sales. They also say that this cancellation is driven by reduced EV incentives, like the disappearing federal tax credit. Also, this car was produced as a partnership between GM and Honda, and the other car they do with this same platform is the Prologue EV, which is quite popular. At the end of the day, I think this move might actually make a lot more sense, and then things like the Prologue can really stand out because it's able to come in at a cheaper price, which definitely seems to be the overall priority for EVs in the US right now. Next up today, a few updates over at Rivian. First, Rivian has filed a patent that reveals possible future tech directions for all of their cars. The first one is a very interesting one, a deployable rear diffuser. This extends and retracts via an actuator to cut drag and adjusts automatically based on sensors and driving modes. We'll see which car this would end up being in, but it seems like this would most likely be something for their more sporty cars, like that sport version of the R3 that they have shown us. Then they've patented a navigation feedback system where drivers can flag map errors and grade charging sessions between A and F. We also see info here for a visual gadget management system that overlays live metadata like vehicle metrics, POI info, and more onto the onboard video, and they are customizable just like widgets. On top of that is a new battery architecture that aims to entirely eliminate the traditional 12-volt system for an overall simpler power design. I think in general this would be a great thing that unifies the whole system and probably would eliminate a point of failure, but of course we'll have to see how that works in practice. The thing to note here is that these are patents, so they show R&D ideas going on at Rivian, but these are things that could never actually reach full production. Companies do that all the time, patenting certain things that just never come to be. For instance, over at Tesla, we've seen them patent things like a laser that replaces windshield wipers and particularly wipes out certain parts of dirt off of the windshield. But over at Rivian as well, they're always updating the software, and the latest version 2025.34 is expected soon for Gen 2 R1S and R1T models, and it brings several enhancements. The first one is a co-steer mode that lets drivers make gentle steering adjustments within a lane without disengaging enhanced highway assist. I think this is a very interesting thing to see overall, and something I would love to see with certain things like Tesla's full self-driving system. Using that on the way to Arizona this past weekend on the Cybertruck, it's always riding very far left in the lane. And yes, people say that that is due to an alignment issue. But regardless, I haven't had the car for that long, and I always feel like I wish I could just nudge it a little bit, so this would be a great thing to see from Rivian here, and should be coming quite soon. I'm curious if it then remembers that position, or if it's something where you kind of just have to hold it there and it doesn't disengage, but you are kind of intervening within the system. Then they're boosting enhanced highway assist availability up to 50% more on urban and suburban highways. They also say lane centering is improving here, especially around curves, and this is a cool system to see expanding because it's a hands-off system. On top of that is an update for smart home charging where the vehicle can delay charging to off-peak hours, overall reducing costs, and Rivian estimates around 20% savings with this. You've always been able to schedule charging, so I am curious to see the details of how this is specifically different. On top of that are a number of small things like audio tuning for better equalization, Dolby Atmos blending, and soundstage improvements, UI and performance tweaks with a more responsive touch, better navigation stability, and then general bug fixes, for example, problems with video thumbnails, door handle behavior, 12-volt battery health alerts, range estimate accuracy, and more like that. For now, these are the beta release notes, but these features will be coming soon to all Rivian owners. And I think Rivian is one of the best companies out there doing software, along with Tesla, when it comes to vehicles. It's cool to see all of these software updates and what new features come to be over the air. Next up, one of the biggest things that people worry about with EVs is charging. But over in California, which is a very EV-forward market, they now have 201,180 public and shared EV charger ports. That's about 60% more than the number of gasoline nozzle hookups in the state. So they say about 94% of Californians now live within 10 minutes of an EV charger. Public chargers have expanded into a lot of places like parking lots, workplaces, garages, and multi-unit housing, which adds to the around 800,000 home chargers statewide that people have. Overall, the state is pushing further development. They have grants to support charging infrastructure in public workplaces and things like that, grants for fast charging, grants for grid readiness, and then reliability standards overall. This is great to see, but I think fast charging is really the most important thing, and then especially reliable fast charging. It's a little bit hard to compare gasoline nozzles to chargers as a whole. So in some sense, I think the real comparison would be comparing gasoline nozzles to only reliable fast chargers that are actually working at any given time. But at the same time, since you can charge at home, it's just a more complex, nuanced issue there. It's not an apples to apples comparison. Regardless, things are expanding. Now, over in the Apple world, they've of course announced this new iPhone Air, and people are experiencing it for the first time. But next year is what is rumored to be the release of the iPhone Fold, and they do expect that this could be even thinner than the current version of the iPhone Air when unfolded. Estimates put it at about 4.5 to 4.8 millimeters of thickness versus the Air's 5.6 millimeters. Then once it's folded, it's expected to be around 9 to 9.5 millimeters, making it comparable to the bulk of today's iPhone Pro models when it's closed. That thinner profile would amount to around a 20% reduction in thickness compared to the iPhone Air as it is today, which could be very interesting to see, but it's something they could probably do because it's twice as big, essentially. Now, foldable phones have been around for quite some time from other companies, but there are some problems that have needed to be solved, and Apple probably didn't want to go forward with it until it felt great. And many see the iPhone Air as kind of the stepping stone to that, so we'll see what happens next year with this. It is funny to see a product that they're essentially years overdue on, but then people getting excited about it. But that's kind of how Apple works. That's all the latest tech, Tesla, and EV news for today. So in the meantime, if you want to see a breakdown of all of the maintenance that is actually required for Tesla vehicles, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.